Welcome back to another episode of the Play Hard, Look Dope podcast. I am so excited for this episode because we have a really special guest on, a dear friend to the brand and pretty much a mentor and the entire reason that we even started a podcast and a TikTok account. His name is Roger Rojas. He is a global content creator. He has made it his full-time job following his passion. He's worked with all of your favorite celebrities from Tom Brady to Patrick Mahomes. He's worked with notable CEOs such as Dan Fleshman and Cindy Eckert. He has traveled the world creating amazing content. He leaves every single project with a smile. He's a Florida born, based in California, lived in New York, and that's where we met him. He has done amazing work for many music artists such as Steve Aoki, Rick Ross, all of your favorite rappers. He's worked with Oprah. He's worked with many amazing people. He creates really fun, loose flowing content, getting really candid with whoever he works with. He's an absolute amazing person to have around you. We are so happy to have met him and to know him. And to know him is to love him. He's an amazing, very inspirational, very positive, very motivating person. In this episode, we are going to be talking about how we met Roger and really what drives him to keep doing his passion, because it's very, very hard to follow your passion in today's world. We learn about the reason he got started, how he really got started, and we also learn about some of his best events that he's worked and really what makes him such a positive person and how he keeps that perspective in this day and age. It's such a fun conversation. It's a very relaxed conversation. There's a lot of laughs and some tears. We did cry. He did manage to make all of us tear up in this episode. So we were not expecting that, especially after a shot of tequila. But without further ado, let's get into the episode. Hi guys, welcome to the Play Hard, Look Dope podcast with your host Ebony
and John.
Thank you, Roger, for being here with us today.
Thanks, guys. Pretty excited to be here and chop it up.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be really, really interesting. I feel like I want people to know how you guys met because I came in after that. Yeah.
So it was one time. So I used to live in New York City, and something I just love to do is just stroll. And John, you could remind me of the location, but you were
Soho.
renting. Yeah, there was a marketplace you were renting. And I was walking. It was like a Saturday or Sunday, and I was walking through there. And at the time, if you see my hands now, I wear rings every day and multiple rings. Yeah. And I was with a friend of mine, and she was like walking by. We saw John's luscious blonde hair. We're like, who's this California? This guy walking by. He's like, "What's up, guys?" Smiling. I was like, "I like this guy."
That's what you said?
Yeah, literally what happened.
Wow.
Like, this guy's like blonde, luscious Baywatch hair. And she just kind of looked at the rings, and I still own it. It's the nail ring. It was size 9. She put it on my index finger, and she looked at me, and she's like, "Hey, this is like..." She had her own ring collection, and she's like, "You should wear this ring." And I was like, "All right, I'm down." And this wasn't someone I was dating. It was just more of like, an accessory. Yeah. And John, I think within... You correct me if I'm wrong. I remember in a short period of time, I kept bringing people.
You did. There was a new.
You did.
Yes, you brought your sister in and her husband. I loved him
that much.
Yeah. No, we hit it off immediately.
Yeah, like I literally would, like when people would visit me, I was like, "We have to stop at this marketplace."
Yeah.
Get out.
I met his sister and her husband.
I did not.
Whatever.
I did not know that. Yeah.
And he would introduce him to everyone, and then he brought in this girl, and then this girl, and then another girl, and then a friend. They're all friends, all friends.
And you just kept it cool. You didn't say anything. You're like, whatever. It's like, nice to meet you, Stacy. No, that's not Stacy.
I was super excited when I think it was like the year after. Then you guys started doing the Grand Central.
Yes.
Yeah, that's where I met you
and
the first time.
The Metro North. I'd be like, "You guys got to check out my friend's booth."
Oh, that's so cool.
So that's where you guys met?
That's where I first met you. You came by the booth. You had this big, like, backpack on. And
camera backpack.
Yeah, and he
asking about content creator.
Yeah, and he was texting me. He was like, "You need to hurry up," because I was probably eating somewhere downstairs. He was like, "You need to hurry up and get back because this cool guy Roger's coming, and I want you to meet him finally." And I'm like, "Oh, this is the Roger you've been telling me about." I was like, "I want to meet him. I got to meet him." Okay, cool. And I'm like, I'm not good at meeting people the first time. Very awkward, but you were like so just chill, and I think you were planning to move.
Okay.
I think that's what you may have told me. You were moving to California. I think. I feel like that's what I remember. And then you were showing me the rings, and John was like, he brings people all the time. He's like been like super cool and like loyal to us, like, you know.
No,
and I was
we
like, okay,
immediately hit it off.
Yeah.
Immediately.
No, I'm serious. I vividly remember meeting him, and
That's
I meet a lot of people.
Yeah.
And we exchanged phone numbers.
I was gonna say, when did you guys exchange your phone number?
I remember walking into the market.
Yeah.
Of Soho. 3-4 tables to your left.
Yes, on the left.
Yes.
Totally.
You weren't the corner, but you were right before.
Right
Yes.
before it,
Yeah,
yes.
right in that
Wow.
like little nook.
I vividly remember.
Oh, those were
That
those
was
were
like
the days.
6 years ago.
Yeah,
probably 6 years ago.
Yeah, and you shared it with, like, I never even shot. I would always walk. You know, I am very polite, and I would kind of, and I don't want to waste people's time. And you know how like I would wander to the other booths, even though in my head I'm like, I'm not buying anything from them because I just always know I'd come back to John's booth.
Oh, I love it! I love it! I love it! I said that, yeah. I said, yeah.
There was like 2 chicks like in front of
Totally.
you. And
Yes.
I was like, that's so cool. I'm gonna go over there.
I'm gonna go there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go over there.
Yeah.
I love that.
We
I love
appreciate
that.
that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Of course. Yeah.
For anyone who's watching or listening, Roger is the reason that we are on TikTok and even have a podcast.
The only
The
reason. we're on
only
TikTok.
reason that we are on TikTok is because of a 15-minute phone call.
We should talk about that.
Yeah.
That phone call.
I don't even know how
So
it started.
You texted me and you're like, dude, the two of you need to be on TikTok. And I was like, that sounds great. Let me convince Evan.
And it was during the pandemic.
And
Yeah.
that
And
was
I-
at that time because I was managing multiple accounts.
Okay.
And I was finding massive success for every account I was managing.
Uh-huh.
And just through his personality of interactions, I was like, you need to be on TikTok. And then
I
he was like,
pitched-
what would we do? How would
Right.
we do it? And I just remember at that there was a certain strategy I was using, and I still talk about it, like one being trends, and then I was like, dude, honestly, just show off your personality, integrate your jewelry. You know, the phone call, we could touch on it.
Yeah, we have to, yeah.
But first you texted me and then I had to sell her.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
because he
she
was sold.
Like,
He was
no
sold.
fucking way. She's
No.
like, no
Yeah.
fucking
I
way.
like flipped out.
She's
He,
like, it's 13-year-old people there.
Yeah, I was like,
Waste of
I'm
my
not
time.
dancing.
I remember this call because I think this is someone, for those watching and listening, this is something so important, is that you weren't, when someone comes to you from a place of distress and or disbelief, it's not that you're challenging us, it's the idea of that it's something you've never done or seen, so it's natural to do that. And
Yeah.
I think people, when you were challenging me, I didn't take it as a place of like, why am I trying to convince her to do it for her business? I then saw it as an opportunity. I've never spoken about this. I saw it as an opportunity to then articulate and educate you on why I believe it's great.
oh, yeah. Well, I
So
got
you
that
gave
tone
me a-
in
you
the
gave me a
conversation.
chance to then further understand how good do I know TikTok.
Yeah, see,
So that
I
every time you
think.
came from a pain point of a question, I was then hit you with how you're. I remember you asking that.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm getting goosebumps talking about it. You said, "What 13-year-old kid doesn't buy a bracelet?" And I used the metaphor.
Yeah.
TikTok is equivalent to a park. You see people laying down, picnicking. You see kids running around. You see kids going down the slide.
That's
There's
so,
a
I
lot
totally
of
remember
promotion
this.
things going on, and you have the choice to decide how do you want to be seen and how do you want your voice to be heard.
Yeah.
And then I learned this from my boss Dan, who's a social media guru, talking about it's free. You have nothing to lose.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
You know, you have
Yeah.
nothing.
That
you're
is a
not,
good
there's
point.
no paid media. It's not like you're paying radio. You know how people do a
Yeah,
radio ad.
they do a
or
radio-
commercial.
yes.
And you hope for
You
someone
hope.
to pick it up. You hope.
Yeah,
for someone to-
absolutely.
This one is. I always told you guys already have your phones, and I knew his personality, and I was getting to know you, and I was like, just
Yeah.
record. And honestly, another trigger was your stories, your Instagram stories. Because you did such a good job of documenting, running behind John. John's always late, and I felt like there was that social. Like I already know he does long walks. He comes in sweating.
Totally.
You know what I mean? Like there's certain things that
I
you guys
did
do.
a
I'm the
good
sweaty
job.
guy.
I just know
I'm the
because
sweaty
you were
guy.
so good at documenting the stories.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
I knew your whole process of leaving Westchester. We never
Yeah.
even spoken about it, and I just know because you've done such a good job of documenting.
I
And I
yeah.
said, hey, you need to translate that over to TikTok because I believe, and this is another big thing, like a side note of when you choose not to harness what you're so great at, you're hurting other people from learning and getting a further chance to educate them on whatever they're doing. And
That's
for
so
you guys,
interesting. I
that
never
is-
even thought of that.
That is brilliant.
It's
That
your
really
brand, and I think, I'm obviously a big fan and a lover of the brand. I'm a lover of the founders.
Yeah,
And I
thank
just
you.
think that people, when they don't decide to do content, it's a selfish decision. Because
Wow.
you're not showcasing what I'm religious and I believe in God and the
Yeah.
idea of like why you're here on this earth.
That's
and
interesting.
what makes you great and what makes you unique. And through TikTok, it's evident. that your personalities have been brought out, you know, and from what I've seen, it's kind of, I'm sure, brought you guys together even closer, more laughs, more stories.
Yeah.
And ironically, somebody just came into the store today
From
via
TikTok.
TikTok from the Bahamas.
Yeah,
It
they
was a couple
like traveled
in
to
the
come,
pouring rain.
yeah, in the pouring rain,
Yeah.
to
And
come
they
and
came-
see
and
us.
They came in. They were so excited.
So
She was like,
excited.
Ebony!
Oh
my
I've said it to you
God.
guys on text, and I've said it on the
Yeah.
phone, and now we have it on record. In the next 2 to 5 years, you guys are gonna be huge.
Get out. You know what's so?
I
You know
really-
what's so
I
funny?
see it, and it's like, and I keep saying it because I want you guys to know I see it.
It's
I see
so.
I see it.
She always says, she's like, I don't know what Roger sees in us.
No, I say it all the
Yeah,
time.
I see it.
From
I was
that
like,
phone
he
call,
sees, he
right?
sees.
No,
I
from
sees
that
it.
phone call, I
these
was like,
podcasts, lives, people. I literally see people sitting here like this, eager. You guys. Doing
no, I know
separate
we
YouTube
have had
pictures.
some like
I see it.
the
I literally
vision
see
is
it. Like,
pretty
play
big.
hard,
Yeah.
Look Dope podcast tour. 10 cities.
Love it.
I always
4
tell him
weeks.
every time, I'm like, after TikTok, when you convinced me and I went kicking and screaming,
and screaming.
I was like, I'm not going to have time for this. How am I going to do this? And John's like, will you just get on the phone? It'll be 15-minute phone call. And I was like, fine. I'm like, but I'm not doing it. I'm like, I do so much already. And then after the phone call, I was like,
What was the
maybe.
turning, I'm curious because we've never spoken about this. What was
Yeah.
the turning point at which you then decided, okay, I'm actually gonna give this a shot? Like, what was it? Something John said, I
Because
said, or did you
no,
just
no, it was something that it was okay. So it was the simple fact that you took the time to try to convince me to do something. Like, you already believed in us in a way, and it really made me think of when John believed in me to do the business. I was like, well, here's another second coming of something where someone else is looking on, from the outside, being like, you can do this. And I'm like, why would I like be like, fuck you, and
Yeah,
say no?
yeah.
You know, I was like, I'll try it. I was like, I'll try it. And I would text you for the first like couple months. I'm like, what do I say? What do I do? And you told me the formula, and then it started working, and I was like, and then it was just became fun. And I was like, I fucking love
Yeah, she
TikTok.
loves TikTok.
I love it.
You know, a saying, one of my favorite public speakers, Ed Milet, you know, what's more fun than fun?
Yeah.
Winning.
Totally.
I love it.
Totally. It's the
And you
best
guys-
thing.
You guys were seeing results.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that, you know, when you're going through the process, it's normal to, and it happens now, personally myself, I'm dealing with it. Like, you'll put out a video and you're like, hey, I'm getting 10 views.
Yeah.
It's frustrating. And you're like, why, maybe what I'm doing is not wrong. And I think something that I saw that you guys, why I believed and where I saw it before it happened, is that you were doing it already through your Instagram stories.
Yeah. You said that.
Yeah, and so that's why I believe you can't fake the hard work. Like, I always tell someone, is like,
okay.
that individual shows up on time, puts an hour, shows up an hour before, an hour later, you can't take that away from someone.
Yeah.
Totally
That's
agree.
You know?
true.
You can't, that's the one thing in life you can't take away from someone.
The hard work.
And so you guys were doing it. And so I was just simply saying, press record and share
Yes.
with the world, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's why I think you saw success so fast.
Yeah.
Is because you already had put the work in, right? You weren't saying, oh, this is going to be our first video. At
Yeah.
that point, you're thousands of videos in. You got your personalities. I was saying, don't act, showcase what you already are doing.
That's
Um,
very
and-
true.
and
Yeah.
And because of that, I believe that's where it was like, obviously, you know, I'm not going to say, I didn't see the future of your numbers and your followers and none of that. I just saw,
Yeah.
you know, being in the game for so long of like, there's people that talk about it and then there's others that are about it. And you guys were already about it.
Yeah.
All you had to do was record.
I mean, honestly, I have a really good engine here.
yeah.
This
You guys
is-
are-
this
you guys are
is-
a duo.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like,
I
top
mean,
to
he's.
bottom.
She's a
like-
creative.
You know,
Yeah.
like, you guys feed off each other, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's a whole nother conversation. I was talking about like your TV show and vlogs, and I see that being a thing, but more so, I think people, you know, especially through TikTok,
Yeah.
you know, they've seen your personalities where, you know, I jump on and I was like, man, you guys get so clever and nitty with each other, and it's
It's
just funny
like,
stuff,
yeah.
you know? And I think
Yeah.
there's the dynamic of bluntly Caucasian, African American,
Totally.
him looking like he's still at Baywatch, but he's like, I don't know how
Right.
he is. He's
Nobody
like,
knows.
he's like
Nobody
30s,
knows,
you know
right.
what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's like
I've been
there's that
contractually
whole- yeah.
obligated to not tell.
And you
Yeah,
guys have like Section Street
non-disclosure.
photo shoots, dope
Yeah.
jewelry in the heart of New York City. Like there's
Totally.
just so much to it.
No, I mean,
That I think that, you know, obviously you have people watching, listening right now who have a TikTok live that's going on. Like,
yeah.
think about that moment. Like right now, this.
I
Like,
know.
Literally think about that. The fact that people are watching you guys right now. They
That's
could be watching Netflix.
Right, totally.
They could be on Instagram.
that's just so. I don't even think like that.
You know what I
That's
mean?
just so
There's
interesting.
So much that people could be doing, and they chose
True.
to be here, which I think is just so cool. It's
And
kinda-
hanging
it's just the
out.
beginning, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
I have a question that I've always wanted to ask you, like two questions,
Okay.
and I don't even know how to formulate them because I was not ready for this today. But
I'm ready.
I know. Like, when did you get confidence in yourself to produce the work that you do for the people that you work for?
Great question. So I recently spoke about this to someone on how important the timing in which you meet certain people and or the opportunity comes, that we sometimes so much rush to get somewhere and then not realizing that opportunity only came from you doing it 100, 200, 300 times. And I think about the moment. So to give an example is the main person I work for, Dan Fleischman. For those who don't know, he's the youngest person to take a company public, investor in over 40 plus companies, stud. Social media agency I work for pays off $60 million to influencers.
Wow.
And so with all that being said, clearly when you have an opportunity to work for them, most people would be extremely nervous.
Yeah.
And or the thought of something going wrong and not doing anything. At the point, I vividly remember the day, March 28th, 2019, the day I met him. At that point of my life, I was so in content and I had done hundreds of shoots. When the opportunity came, it was natural.
You were ready.
I was ready. If I would, I think about this all the time. Because I started my journey in 2016. If I would have met him in 2016, 2017, 2018, I would have bombed. Because I
Wouldn't
wouldn't have been ready.
Right.
And my life would not be where it is today. Because that moment and that time, people call it luck, but I really believe it's just preparation in that moment met, and you met the right person. That gives
the
you
right
that
time.
one chance, that opened that one door that led to your life never being the same again. And that's what it was for me. And so for me, it was the relentless idea of, I reflect now more than ever. And when I reflect on my journey, I think the first word that comes to mind is curiosity. I was so curious. I was curious on what types of content I wanted to shoot. I was curious of constantly meeting people. Like clearly, I'm sure you guys see over the camera hear my voice. Like I'm very loud and kind of, I'm personal, and I just love people.
You're passionate.
And I'm passionate. I love culture. And so because of my curiosity, I applied that with content. You were like, hey, do you shoot a wedding? Yeah. Never did one in my life. Hey, do you shoot baptisms? Of course.
You just say yes.
Indian dance. Literally ask me, and I've done it all.
That's-
Restaurants, music
Yeah.
videos.
Yeah.
And curiosity
shoes.
is why you travel. You need to
Right.
be curious to
Yeah,
travel.
what I always say too, for me, traveling fuels my soul.
Yeah.
That's me.
He loves
That's how
traveling.
you meet people,
That's- yeah,
culture.
That's how
And I
you
can say
learn.
confidently now, something else I've learned from my boss. People always ask me like, "What are the biggest things you've learned from him?" For me, it's relationship capital, and how relationships are the fast forward button to life. And so for me, I can confidently say in most major cities across the country, let it be a restaurant, hotels, drivers, I can connect you to someone. And I did that through knowing that that's a superpower of mine, and I harnessed that and leaned into that. So for people listening that are thinking to themselves like, all right, Roger, that's super cool. You work for crazy people and you're traveling all over the world. What does this mean to me? I leaned into the things that I knew that felt right for me. One of my superpowers are people, and I got that from my dad. And then I also viewed someone who I admired, my mentor, Dan, how he always connected people over and over and over, and it was free. And he was being kind. And I literally looked at him do it for year after year for the past 4 years. I was like, wait, I could do that. And so literally, I do it with you guys all the time. I literally just connect you. Right?
Yeah.
I don't ask for anything in return. And for me, selfishly, it's good karma. And I just know to myself, I'm elevating and pushing the people around me. And maybe they do something great and maybe they blow up, but I don't do it from a place of I want something in return. Or
Yeah, you're very genuine.
Yeah, just like just knowing it's just I'm very faithful, and I just think to myself, if I'm able to do this one thing that'll help you for free, there's no number on that. Like I talk about that stuff all the time of like the importance of just serving.
Yeah.
And not knowing where that one relationship could do, and I'm so big with that sometimes. And I will say since my heart is so big, of course, like no one's perfect. It sometimes hurts me, but the idea of just knowing that if I'm connecting people and I'm putting them in the right place and I'm able to give them a better experience or a better moment in time of them visiting somewhere, and I played a part in that, that makes me pretty happy.
Yeah, there's
That's
a
amazing.
lot of people that don't connect other people out of fear that they would lose that relationship with the person that they connect them with.
We
They
know people like
yeah,
that.
they gatekeep things, and they don't want to. So to know someone that
My
just
gates are open.
yeah, right, yeah,
I love that. That's-
no,
Gates are so
totally.
open.
And that's how
You know
you
what I
are.
mean?
Like
Yeah.
John
Like,
connects people
yeah.
that way too, and
And
I
I
think it's
never
just
want
a
anything.
it's
Same
a
thing.
genuinely it's a
Yeah.
good quality
Yeah.
to have. I mean, I want to go on record and just say thank you for believing in us. It's wild because every time we talk, I say to John, I'm like, I don't know what he sees.
But
And also I'm
I
like,
think
but
this is something so cool to talk about right now in this moment. When was the last time I was here? 3
oh,
months ago?
yeah, like 3 months ago, yeah.
Two, 3 months.
3 months ago, this space was not like, it wasn't.
Right.
You
Yeah.
guys are doers. You know what I mean? And that's another thing you have to realize. Like, why do I believe in you? It's because you just do. You're listening to me and you're
Yeah.
doing it.
Yeah, I mean,
No,
you
for
put-
sure.
You put
I
a
literally
bug
said-
in my ear, and I read
Yeah,
it.
I
no,
literally
yeah.
said, hey guys, I need 4 podcasts in advance. You gave me 4 podcasts in
Yeah.
advance.
No,
hey,
like-
we need to change the walls. Hey, you need to start making this area look cool. Hey, we need to put curtains. You guys put up curtains. I
Yeah.
literally said put up plants. You guys put up plants.
I did
And
totally.
so when something you have to understand for me, it's like I could do this all day and I give you ideas. There's a lot of people that don't listen to me.
Right.
That's just
Like
so
off the top of my head, there's
interesting.
literally one guy I'm thinking about right now.
It's just not listening.
He does not listen to me, and I give him the most insane ideas for his business. In regards to stuff, I always say anything I tell you, you could do today. I'm not talking about and notice when I
Yeah.
tell you about starting the podcast, use your iPhone. You don't even
Right.
need a camera.
You
For
did.
sure, yeah, you did,
You
yeah,
said
you
start,
did,
start,
you
start.
did, yeah.
You can get fancy later.
Yeah.
And then through that, there's like it's beauty. I'm sure people watching now. I'm so excited. Like I literally already see it. Play hard looked up here.
No, I
Yeah.
know we're
I
gonna.
already see that wall is gonna be
Yeah.
filled up with like pictures from all
Yeah,
your
so
guests.
back behind that curtain there, we're gonna have the Polaroids start
Yeah.
happening. We're gonna have a
The
neon
mini
light
bar's gonna be
here.
over
Right.
there.
That's
Yeah,
the
for
most
sure.
important thing.
That's the
I know.
most important thing. We're gonna get a rug. Like it's
Yeah,
gonna
exactly.
be.
And so it's like that.
like
I
a
think you have to
speakeasy.
know that, and I applaud you guys, in saying of like you guys are warriors too. Like I've seen your journey. You guys bounce around different locations.
Yeah.
And you're
Yes.
doing. For some people they give up. Like,
Yeah.
for real. You could have easily.
So
respectfully-
easy to give up.
I'm
Yeah.
only putting it out there because you posted.
Yeah.
about it,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
You could, after Westchester, you can be like, hey John, I'm done.
I'm fucking
Yeah,
done.
let's
Yeah.
get
You
a
guys
job.
had
Yeah.
how many square footage was that place?
4,000
square
4,000
feet.
square foot pace, and then how much is this one? now?
500.
500.
Exactly. Hey, wow, we can't go down to 500.
Yeah, it's
Do you think does that make us a smaller brand?
Right.
Like you could have played all those stories in your
Right.
head, but you still made it happen.
we.
And you're just every day you're just putting in the work every single day, and I think that's so important for people listening, just like thinking to themselves, like, not everything's gonna go your way. It's not.
No,
Most of it's not.
literally
No.
like
No.
80% of things do not go our way.
I was so lucky. Where last week we had an event. We had David Goggins speak, and
Ooh.
he said something that I think about every day now. Since he said it to me, it was 2 things. He said those are highly favored by God are also highly favored by the devil. And so what does that mean? That means if you're meant to be something great, you're meant to be challenged at a high, massive, like heart rate, because you need to show what your greatness could be by those challenges.
We are challenged.
Well, then
every
I
time.
mean, I
Yeah.
guess. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's like the biggest thing. And then the second thing he said was, you know what's really hard? Being overweight. You know what's really hard? Running 20 miles. We all face hard.
Yeah.
You choose your hard.
Yeah.
At one point or another. But you have to. It's just part of life.
Yeah.
And so when he said that, I was like, that's it. Like that's literally the formula. Because I would play in my own head. I'm speaking of a place of, genuinely of like, if I just do this, everything's gonna be great. It's just gonna be smoother. It's gonna be easier.
Yeah.
And of course we play the comparing game. We see this person. I'm like, man, why does that guy always look like he doesn't have problems? We all do.
Yeah.
Life check for those
Yeah.
listening, for those watching. Everybody has problems.
Yes.
It's just to what degree.
Yeah. Like you
And
choose
also
your
how do
hard.
you allow it, and how do you?
Totally.
I'm so big on. Dan talks about 5-10 minutes, cry, weep, stomp around, close your door, scream. But then the only thing that's going to change it is you.
Totally.
Yeah.
You sitting there and like, there was something last week I was facing, and I decided to stay in my apartment for 2 days. Literally, I was just like, I'm not leaving. And then I was like, what am I doing? I just started walking around Hollywood, and I just started calling friends. I was like, hey, I need to get my brain going. I need to change this. I didn't know how or when or whatever. I was like, I just so believe, Tony Robbins talks about this, like motion and energy. If you want things to be changed, you got to be in motion, and with energy, things change, and you get your mind going and moving. But
No, it's so motivating.
Yeah.
I
No,
want to
I agree with that.
I want to like rip through a wall right now.
I'm down.
And
I'll
do
try this
things.
No,
I mean,
not
honestly,
that wall.
no, that'd be a big challenge for us
Not that
actually right now. No, I mean, this is like, I mean, phenomenal. So yeah, while you're here, I can give you a little bit of the vision that we have for this space. We're going to kind of, you know, have a couch, seating area, that whole situation. But we do also want to kind of take the show to some of our friends' restaurants and
Come on
record
On the road, yeah.
on the road there.
So we'd go to like Rebalta.
We're gonna
for-
go, yeah, and we're gonna ask them to open early,
Yeah.
early.
They don't know this
They
yet.
don't know this yet. They're gonna find out now.
This is how you do it. You find the hours that they're closed.
Yes, that's what
Yeah.
we mean. And then can
And
we
you-
come
And you
then?
say to them, this is what you're going to do. Hey, on Tuesday, if they're closed between the hours of, again, making this up, closed between the hours of 11 and 3, you want to do an event there from 12 to 2.
An
So you don't
event.
disrupt what they would do, prepping and all that.
Yeah.
And then you say to them, thinking out loud, they have 5 tables. Admission to come is you each buy a pie.
Oh, you're like, so you're always
You're
thinking
so-
you're always thinking ahead
that never
of me.
occurred to
Never
me.
occurred to
So
me.
they- having people
weren't-
come in.
They weren't going to have business. They
Oh,
weren't
that's
going to be making
fucking
money.
brilliant.
You're
Oh, and
So
then
like a
we
meet and
just
greet.
yeah,
And
you're
watch
that's
the
always
podcast.
like that was
Yeah.
I was just thinking
That
like
was
close it
beyond
down.
me,
That was
yeah.
beyond. It's always beyond.
Yeah. And then
Wow.
now why would they say no? They're
No,
gonna
they're not gonna say no.
make
Yeah, they're not really gonna
$300,
say.
$400 that they would have never made on a
Right,
Tuesday.
right.
Yeah, they're
And
not
then
really
we
gonna say
interview.
no.
And
Yeah.
You're arriving in between hours that is not disrupting the business.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
You know.
Okay,
and
well
you
that
make
just
it very clear and concise of saying, hey, we're gonna come in. How long does it take to set up? 6 minutes.
yeah.
Okay, great. Are we rearranging that? Nothing. We're opening the door. How many people are coming? 10. Okay, great. Hey, these people that have already paid you already paid them 10 pies, lay them all out, and we're good, and we're just running.
That's
and just
a
have
fucking
one waiter
great
coming back
idea.
and forth.
Yeah, that's fucking
That was like
brilliant.
way beyond me.
Fucking Roger, man.
All the time, just spark. I thought of some like rapid fire questions,
For me.
but you can let me know. You could say no comment if you
Okay.
don't want to comment.
That's it.
Your favorite city that you've ever shot content in?
Tulum, Mexico.
Oh, okay. Your favorite event that you ever shot content for?
That's a good one. What immediately came to my mind was this international fitness retreat that I've done for 2 years in Barbados.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in Barbados, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Some,
Yeah,
I'm
it's called
seeing.
Active Escapes Barbados.
I'm seeing this bikini
Me too.
trend.
I'm literally.
I love the beach. And
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
you
I'm
know,
down.
that corny saying of sunset walk, I'm that guy.
Yeah.
I can
Slight
do it by
buzz.
myself.
Oh wow.
And
I was
taking
picturing.
taking the sand in Tulum, Mexico. That's my favorite thing to do. I always stay on the beach, and my friends will literally see me walking by myself at random times on the beach. I love the water. I love the sand. You know, we're
That's
80%
phenomenal.
made out of water, and I believe there's alignment, and that for me, I believe outside of church, that's when I'm closest to God, when I'm on the beach.
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah.
I totally feel that. My next question.
Oh, I'm having so much fun.
I know this is
It's
fun.
like-
I'm
it's
doing
like-
a little bit better than I thought I was gonna do. I was so nervous.
Oh, we're great on time.
Okay. Your favorite person that you've ever worked for besides
Dan.
Fleshman. Besides that,
Yeah, it would be Dan. But if it's not Dan,
that you've ever shot content for.
yeah. Can we pick a category? So because I've been so blessed to shoot a lot of different what I call characters.
Yeah.
I don't like to use the word influencer celebrities. I just believe these are individuals that harnessed what was their God-given gift, and they've gotten really good at it. So people pay attention. They pay a lot of money. So with that being said, one of them in the music industry, I think, is Steve Aoki. I really admire him and his work ethic and his success, but more so how he just shows up day in and day out, and he's just so driven with what he does and kind of doing that. Another individual that comes to mind in just like the speaking space, I've been so blessed to not only work with him, but our journeys have aligned with growth, is Nick Santanastasso. He was someone
yeah.
that was born,
Yes.
Oh my
yeah.
God.
Yes.
He
Oh, you guys
he
have-
was
Yes,
yes, yeah,
yes,
he
we
is
met.
he was
The same
incredible.
weekend I met Dan, and him, like his manager Ratmir, shout out to Ratmir. He like, I'm very close to him. Like he came to my Thanksgiving dinner.
Oh, no way.
With my family, yeah. And so I love him. And again, if you listen to like how I describe people, the thing I look at is just like the grit and the determination and to just show up and serve. Right?
I mean, talk about a guy that could just quit.
Yeah. And then just like you look at him and you're like, why am I complaining?
Right.
And
Immediately.
So you want to tell the folks a little about him, or?
Yeah.
So Nick Santanastasso, he has one arm with one finger. He has no legs, and he was I believe he was one of 4 people in the world born that way.
Yeah.
I believe 2 passed, or 3 have passed away with the medical term. I'm not sure of how he was born, but essentially, he's became an icon. Like he's been on fitness covers. He's walked fashion shows. He speaks on the stage with Tony Robbins all over the world, and I think he just proved the one thing that people said he could. Over and over and over.
Yeah, that is
and
just
incredible human being.
Someone that I admire, I respect, and I love. So so the first one that immediately came to mind was Steve Aoki, and then Nick Santanastasso. Those are the 2 that really. And it's someone who I love to in the business world. I love to listen to. I haven't necessarily worked with him hand in hand, but because of my boss running events and that relationship, but I don't have a personal relationship, is Magic Johnson. I love how he said something during his last talk of people. How do you talk to the people that you've outgrown? Like, how do you let them go? And he goes, my conversations change. He's like, I used to talk to millionaires because I wanted to be a millionaire, and then I used to talk to billionaires because I wanted to be a billionaire. So if you're not talking to me about how to make billions, how we could serve billions of people, I'm talking to the wrong person. He has $3 billion companies. He's like, guess who I'm talking to now? Trillionaires.
Yeah.
And he goes,
it's a mindset.
He's like, there's just levels to it.
You surround yourself with
right. And I think again, talking about how we referred to at the beginning of the podcast, when people come at you from a place of hurt, it's either self-reflecting and or jealousy. And I really feel bad for those type of people because I just believe we live in a world that there's a lot of hate and there's a lot of disgust and things like that. And being kind and being empathetic should be more shown and talked about. But essentially, I love Magic because one of the things that I really love that he did, he brought Starbucks everywhere, and like that he's one of the first investors. And he put it in those areas, and then something that he did personally was he launched Johnson Theaters into like rural areas that people couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
And for me, that's like the next level generational stuff of just not forgetting your roots and showing up for people and kind of, what I believe my own calling is serving for the people that I need to step up to be the best man I could be to serve the people that are waiting for me that don't know it yet. And so I really believe that. I don't know what it is or how I'm going to do it yet. But that's something that I want to do, and I got a lot of that inspiration from Magic Johnson.
That's
wow.
Incredible. So you're an extremely positive person. How do you wake up every day, or do you wake up every day positive? How do you remain positive?
Yeah, I definitely have. So out of the day, no one's perfect, right? I think we have those moments, and I allow myself to have those moments. Who is the saying? If you laugh, cry, smile in a day, you've had a great day.
Yes, I've heard that.
And so I do allow myself to cry. And so there's 2. I've been so lucky where he's becoming a close friend of mine on TikTok is MD Motivator, Zachary, where he shows up to people and he'll be like, hey, can you help me out $5 in this situation?
Oh, yes, I've seen his TikToks.
Say no, and then kind of like whatever. And I just had lunch with him, and he's someone that I look at his videos and I cry. And I cry out of love, but also like hope. He just did one with Ed Sheeran. And so he went around USC campus, and I literally just saw it, and I was just like, it's these type of stories that you can't tell me there's not a God. He would walk around the campus, and he's like, hey, for $5, can you name the song? Oh, I'm good, like 5 times. And he plays the song, the girl names it immediately, the Ed Sheeran song. And he goes, here's $500. And she's like, for what? And she's like, you just named the song right. And he's like, do you want it? Like, I can't remember the exact term, but essentially she chooses to defer.
Oh, give it to the next person.
I'm blessed. I prefer to give it to the next person. She was like, wait, actually, I know I can give it to. She was like, my sorority has a private chef. And they go, and he's like, do you want to do it right now? And they go and surprise her. She's like, hey, you've been so giving, you've been so amazing. You're always there with a smile. I think it was $1,000. They give it to her in cash. And then you know what she says? She's like, you don't know this yet, but I'm pregnant.
Oh,
Oh
man.
no way,
You have
the
no idea
chef.
it's
How
gonna
much
help
that
me.
helped her. Yeah,
Oh
wow.
And so
wow.
I said I posted on my story today, all of God's rejection of him going up to every person and them saying no, 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 was him redirecting
Totally.
Redirecting it. Like
towards
that's not needed
who
there.
needed the money. And so I love him. So that's why between him and Jimmy Darts, those are like the videos that I cry. And again, I'm religious. So
You're getting a
always
little
end up
teary-eyed.
I know,
here.
I
You can
saw
see
it. I was
know.
like, oh
Yeah,
my
Wow.
gosh.
I love church and I love worship. And
Yeah.
So going back to positivity in the mornings, I always try to play like all the upbeat music. Rufus and Rufus Del Sol, and I just blast worship music. Like
Okay.
if you were
You
to
gotta
ask
send
my
me that
neighbor-
playlist.
I will. If you were to ask my neighbor, he's probably heard a ton of worship songs.
He's like, I also like worshiping in the
Yeah.
morning.
No.
I just, something that this year has taught me is that life is short. And so as I'm 29 years old, and that term, I think, especially when you're young, you just don't get it, right? There's certain things that with time you then understand. And, sorry, I'm getting emotional. This year, I've just had a lot of friends die,
Yeah.
And so when you experience death, and for people that you love unexpectedly, it just has you reconsider who are you, what are you doing, where are you spending your time, where are you investing your time, what are the things you're pouring into. You guys recently heard, rest in peace, Jessie, one of my friends who passed away, stage 4 colon cancer. She was 34 years old,
Yeah.
the peak of her career, making millions of dollars. And she just got hit with that, and then with 6 months, she's gone. And so with things like that, it's like, man, I not saying, nothing for that to happen to me, but it's like the idea of if that were to happen in my life, I want to be known as someone who's just not only giving, but like the biggest compliment that like makes me happy is when people will say to me, it's like, bro, you have such good energy.
Yeah, you
Like
do.
I love, like that lightens me up, because people saying that to me, one, blows my mind of like, that should be everyone. Like you want to be around other people that get you excited, get you motivated, but more so that you just want to be around. And I think that for me, that's like my biggest compliment, when everyone just they just look at me and they're just like, man, you have such great energy. And I'm like, that's how I want to be known. Like when they leave the room, was he cool? No, I don't want to be known as a cool guy. I pride myself in my clothing and how I dress. And
You have good style.
Yeah, I
Two of
do
you.
pride myself in that, but I don't want to be known as that. I really
Yeah.
want to be known as like, man, after I left talking to Roger, I was smiling, I was laughing. And, something else that I'll clip this and send this to my sister. As I was growing up, everyone faces identity issues, right? And I tried at one point to be the ghetto kid. I don't even know what that is, but
Really?
essentially in photos, I wouldn't smile. And my sister would be like, you have such great teeth. You have such a great smile. Start smiling.
And
still
now
to this day-
you always
And you
smile.
smile
I've
all the
never seen
time.
you not
Me
smile.
too.
There was a photo about a week ago. I was with a group of friends, and I decided to be serious. And she was like, "Are you serious, bro?"
She called you on it.
Yeah, she called. She's never on Instagram, and you know how many stories I post today. That was the
Yeah.
one thing she called me out. And so talking about that was something I think is so important. Is like there's certain God's gift. They're kind of things that make you you, and I was trying to hide that. I was like, I don't know why. I still haven't really processed why would I not smile, and what was the things that like made me. I don't know. I haven't gone. Talking about it now, I guess is like a therapy session where I think I did it because it would make me kind of like smaller, and or people would see me as like not intimidating, but not being a man or alpha in any way, of just because I was so, I used to have long hair and kind of I'm outspoken, and again, going with the identity of who I am. We all go through that growing up, but now more than ever, there's like 3 things I love to do and I never hide. Is I'm always smiling. If I can make people laugh, I'll make them laugh, and I love to dance.
Oh
I used
my
to always
goodness.
hide that, and I pride myself. If music turns on, I'm literally dancing in the car. I'm literally dancing on a table, and it used to be something that I would hide. And I think that it's just one of not like gifts, whatever. People say I dance well, but it's like the idea of like it just makes me happy, and I think it's
who
like
cares?
I lean into that. Yeah. And I think for me. That's something I realized recently, and every video you see, I love smiling. I love dancing, and I think it's so funny. You smile at someone, and they could be looking weird, and just smile right back at you.
Yeah.
For no reason.
No, that's true.
And I do that a lot.
But literally,
How inspiring is it?
I honestly,
Yeah.
every
I do that a
time
lot.
that
So,
I
like-
speak with you, I'm like
Sorry.
motivated.
What do you think about like negative people? And we all have negative people in
yeah,
our life.
right,
Do you?
right.
What do you do with that?
Right. So I do two things. Number one is I listen. I've learned that from Dan. The biggest speakers in the world and the people with the biggest voices listen, and I listen, and I think that shows empathy, shows compassion, patience, especially patience when they're talking about stuff you don't want to hear.
Yeah.
But I give it kind of I give it a cutoff date. There's someone who I was speaking to recently who's in my family, and he was just ripping it, and I let him for like 2 minutes, and I've learned to politely shut it down. Hey, clearly we're not seeing eye to eye, and clearly there's something you're very passionate about that I don't want to get deeper into because it's triggering me and because we have opposite views on it. And I respect it, but it's just not like, let's just change the subject.
Oh, I like how you did that.
Just like, and I recently did that. It was one of my siblings.
Oh, wow.
Very recently, and it was the first time in my life where I was able to articulate not being disrespectful to him, but then him also realizing like, yo, I let you, and I let him know that his opinion is not the right or wrong. It's just I let him have it, and then him just saying, we see different things. We see it differently. Like you feel some type of way about that subject, and I don't see the same. But I allowed him to speak instead of cutting him off, which is rude, and saying, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to stop it. And that's something I used to do in the past, where I allow people. The news, I don't watch it. I truly believe
the news is
that it is made to put people in fear.
It's
we don't divide.
we don't watch the news
for
at
me,
all.
It's just like I was just cutting through. I'm so blessed where my clients of mine have planes, and we're literally just looking at the screen, and it said kidnapping, almost killed, gun, and I looked at him, my client, and I was like, there's nothing good that ever comes on.
Nothing. The news is so negative. It's crazy.
And then, since we're talking about like goodness and kindness, I really want to, for those listening and watching, there's something known as the tipping dinner that a friend of mine named Jimmy Rex started in the state of Utah during the pandemic. One of the biggest hardships were restaurants. Family-owned, waitresses. We all, everyone has a family some way or another, and or trying to help out someone. And he started something known as a tipping club, where people would come together, and every individual that showed up would tip the waiter $100 on top of the bill in cash.
That's amazing.
And it spread everywhere. And then Dan heard about it, and he's like, "Hey, let's do $1,000."
Whoa!
Wow.
Oh my God! Can you imagine those people getting
They
that?
getting
and they don't
that,
expect
and
it.
they
in
don't
cash.
expect it in cash too. That's
We've
just.
done 30,000, 40,000.
Wow.
I think I've
Obviously,
seen these videos.
yeah,
I've
there's
seen the
recently one
reels.
We did. It's going viral right now.
It is.
We went to a local restaurant. We always, and another thing is that people think it goes straight to the waiter. No, we're obviously conscious of not one waiter's taking 40,000.
Right.
Everybody makes money, and gets the blessing in which people showed up for: the cleaners, the cooks, everybody, the wait staff, the hostess,
The bar back.
Yeah, the bar back.
Yeah.
We literally
That's
say, hey,
great.
the divide of we're very straight. So for those listening, watching, how can you replicate this? You go to a local restaurant. Even us, we should go 3 or 4 friends.
Yeah.
And you intentionally pick somewhere that's family owned. You intentionally pick a waitress you may or may not, that you want to bless.
Right.
Talk to him. It never fails. Everyone has a story, and everyone's always going through something. Especially when I know Dan's going to do it as an individual. The one that's first coming to mind right now, we were in Indianapolis, and this woman was pregnant. She was, hey, do you guys need anything? How can I help you? How can I serve you? Over and over again. And I kept looking at Dan. I was like, this woman's incredible. And she's like, about to pop.
Yeah.
And he's like, we're going to bless her today. I was like, all
Oh
right, cool.
man.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
so
That's great.
exciting.
he goes, he always says, this is like the math. He goes, pick a number between 1 and 10. And this is in hundreds, but she has no idea. She goes, 7. 700. And he typically likes to do it, and then we walk out. He's very kind of incognito, and that's why I love him even more. He's not doing it for the attention.
Yeah.
Right? He's doing it because he wants to serve and he wants to help people. And so at that moment though, when we paid, she just took it, and then Dan, he looks down. He's like, oh, she's gonna come back for sure, probably cry. You know, like, you know what I mean? And then that's where I get emotional, like, clearly.
And then you're
Yeah.
crying.
She
He's a
comes
crier.
back,
Like,
Yeah, I know.
She
The
comes
whole
back-
table.
Yeah, she comes back and she tells us our story. She's like, this is my third kid. My husband's not working. Like, everyone has a story.
Oh, my.
You know,
Right.
you just never know the blessing and how powerful it can be. And we recently did one in Salt Lake City, Utah. It was called Side of Aloha. We found out it was a family-owned business. And I had DMs. Again, we showed up knowing it's family-owned. Everyone's always going through something. Donated, I think the total was $4,000.
Wow.
Everyone showed up $100. I got multiple DMs. You have no idea what that meant to them. You have no idea they were about to go out of business. Multiple DMs.
Wow.
Multiple DMs.
Wow.
From people of like, you have no idea what that just did.
Ooh.
And going back to negativity, posting that, I was literally responding to a comment. How about you do things and not post about it?
Oh, how do you feel about that? I hate when people say that.
So I think people come from a place of when they say that, I think it's just more so they see it as you doing it and taking spotlight on doing good. And they're like, hey, yourself kind of bringing up your ego of look at me, which it can be taken that way.
Yeah.
And again, perspective, allowing them to see that. But then I literally commented, how about this? Number one, we're setting an example what other people should be doing.
That's what
Number
I
two,
think.
we're serving people. That money's going towards someone that needs it.
Mhm.
Right.
And then I said, number three, how about instead of watching it, you go duplicate it?
I love
That's
that.
it. That shut it down.
That's the whole
Because,
thing.
No, someone like that will never do that.
No, yeah.
They're just
And
negative.
it's like, if you're going to tell me,
I
hey, we just
love
showed
that.
up and donated X amount of money to serve someone. I still his nickname. It was funny. He was named Bambi, the waiter from
Bambi.
the restaurant. And I was like, "There's no way that's your name, bro. Tell me the story." He said he got drunk on a lake one day and it was frozen and he was Bambi and he
Fell
was
in.
running in place.
Oh.
And his friend,
shit.
standing up and falling. He didn't fall into the water, obviously.
Yeah.
He was able to tell stories like that's how I got my nickname Bambi. And they were all like,
That's great.
"Bambi, you can make it," you know.
That stuck
And
with
we gave
them.
him the-
That
we
did,
gave
yeah.
That dinner we gave a $10,000 tip.
Wow.
Get
And I
out.
said, hey, 2,500 is going to Bambi. And as she's counting it out, and he's looking, he's like, you guys have no idea how much I needed this money,
Damn.
you know? And so it's not the dollar amount, and I think this is so important. So another thing I've learned for me is that I used to sometimes want to hide doing good. And I could understand how people, again, perspective of, there's a lot of individuals I know though too, of like that'll just do what they do and they don't want to post it. They don't want to talk about it. Everyone has their choice.
Yeah.
Same way you have a choice of belief, same way you have a choice of fashion, same way you have a choice of sneakers. How you want to do it. The reason we post about it is because I'm so blessed where I have the ability to document it and do a story behind it and make it compelling. And not only as a form of entertainment, but as a form of inspiration. And I'm also so blessed I'm surrounded by very affluent individuals that allow their wealth not to only be to themselves, but to other people. And I think that for me is also one of my big, like why I'm obsessed with my boss is like every time I see him make money, he's serving other people. He's starting more businesses. He's creating more opportunities over and over and over and over and over and over again. And that compounding effect of good, of opportunity, of
Creating jobs.
creating jobs. He always says that. He says, you know, the ones that are going to change the world are the entrepreneurs. Why? It's because we're the ones creating jobs. We're the ones working. No one's going to come and do it for you.
100%.
And so, and so for him, I'm speaking like as him, but you know, in regards to because I just listen to him so much and I admire him of like the reason we show the good is because we need more of it. You know, we're talking about there's like you never turn it like 9 out of 10 times you turn something on, the things that are going viral are like fights.
Fights and
Yeah,
bad
it's
things.
disgusting.
Right.
Crime.
Disgusting.
Right.
And so it's like for me, it's like I don't. Again, those comments I do answer to them because I
Yeah.
think it is important to have that conversation. But then there's also people that, of course, keyboard warriors. It doesn't matter what you say to them; they're still gonna have their opinion, and that's
Totally.
okay.
For
It
sure.
really is.
What's the term? Keyword warriors?
Keyboard warriors.
Keyboard.
Yeah. So
Okay, I like
they're just
that.
gonna go back at you.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it's not gonna
yeah.
stop.
Yeah.
And I, again, like I'm very empathetic towards it because I then question. Sometimes I'm like, I want to call that person, and be like, "Yo, what are you going through?" Like for real.
Like the projection is
Yeah, like
crazy.
what are you experiencing that you feel so compelled to talk about something good and bring it down? Like,
Yeah.
really. And it took me a while to get to that place because I used to be frustrated. I used to think to myself, all the bad stuff that everyone, like how you, immediately when you asked that question, you were so passionate about it.
Yeah.
That's how I used to be. But then I came from a place of like, I I feel bad for them. I really do.
Yeah.
Because that just means they're in a place that they're not good themselves, you know? And
they're angry and they're projecting that.
Exactly. And for me, I just go back to a place of, I just, every day more than ever, and I've been showing it more and more on my social media, like, I'm just so grateful. I'm just so blessed. And I think it's just so important that people, you don't need things to be blessed. And I think, I feel so lucky to be friends with you guys. And like,
yeah, likewise. Yeah.
Like guaranteed, I want to see you and or I tell you what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I do it because I love being around you guys. And I think for me, leaning into the things that fire me up, it's the people I do life with. I've been saying that more and more over and over.
I like that. The people I do life with.
Because it's like, I've been so blessed to experience crazy things, quote unquote, right? I don't even want to get into it, but you know what I mean.
We
like,
see
all this stuff.
Yeah, we see.
And I want to tell you confidently, and for those people watching and for those people listening, seriously, I've done the most lucrative things with the wrong people and wish I wasn't there. And I'm talking about crazy things. Super yachts and international waters, doing this and doing that. And I was surrounded by the wrong people, and that was the last place on earth I wanted to be.
Well, you can always bring me next time.
Okay.
I mean, feel free. We'll both show up. we'll both show up.
That's what I've realized. Like, I'm at that point in my life where I used to like want to be in the nightclub. I want to be dancing there. It's like, no, who am I going with? Who am I going to enjoy this experience with? Who am I going to want to take pictures with? There was a video I recently saw. This girl, and it's kind of like a meme, and she's like, "Why do you always want to take pictures of everything?" And then it's her own voice, and she's explaining. And she says, because maybe we're reflecting on the moment this will be the last time we do it, and or we don't have a replay button to look back on it and smile.
Oh, I like
That's
that.
heavy.
And I think when you think of it like that, of like, sometimes people, I get it every now and then. Like yesterday I got it. It's like, why do you have to record everything? And I was like, because I want to look back on this moment.
Totally.
And I do that a lot. Like if you see, especially now, a lot of my videos are reflective. If you see it, it's really it's me journaling.
Yes.
This is funny because I'm having a moment to myself. I'm definitely in the stage of my life of reflecting and journaling through my videos.
Yeah, you do that the other day with Tulum.
Mm-hmm.
Missing Tulum.
Yeah.
Oh,
I feel like I'm opening a virtual, like a digital book. Seriously.
I feel like I'm going through a journey right now. And for me as a creative, I think that's something else too. It's like, how do I challenge myself and how do I do something different? And for me on my personal brand, I just, again, I know how lucky I am. I know how blessed I am. I know all the opportunities God's given me. It's like, I know how great it is. And for me, I use my videos to like express that gratitude. And then also not necessarily show off or inspire. I recently spoke to a high school and I kept thinking to myself, what would I want to tell my 18-year-old, 16-year-old self? And I just straight off the bat, I said, hey, just dream big. Just dream so big that you think you're crazy. And
I think I'm crazy, yeah.
Yeah, and I believe you. And
yeah, for sure, for sure.
He's not saying anything.
Yeah, no, he's like,
we can't all be crazy.
Right, no.
Yeah, and so for me, that was like my biggest thing. Now it's like, just dream so big, and that's why like I want you guys, again, this is definitely a therapy session. For you guys, when I think about your brand and what you're doing and with the podcast, like I see it. Like I see you guys going on tour. I see you guys selling out bars, restaurants. Like what if you just partnered with pizzerias and then that concept of live podcast is that same pizzeria concept and you're hitting your favorite pizzerias in the same way David Portnoy does the One Bite Pizza. You're like, hey, you're the One Bite podcast. And
that's just
like, you guys are just like doing that over and over and over.
That's a great idea.
And
I
you guys
know.
are going live,
don't take that idea.
No, don't take that idea. No, this is it's so exciting.
Sponsor, go right ahead. Let's talk about it.
Let's go. We got this
take
table
that
here. No, that's
cool. And I think this is something cool to talk about too. I believe in abundance. And the threat of someone doing or taking from you, I don't know. I just negative.
I totally agree.
Like
yeah.
I'm so big on when I hear creatives complain about situations of, I shouldn't be doing this, and I'm like, dude,
just do it.
Close your eyes and throw. You could throw out if you close your eyes and just throw a rock out the window, you'll hit someone that needs you for a photo or video shoot. Like, there's an abundance of people, there's an abundance of opportunities, and so like the more time you harp on the things you don't have, you're just pulling yourself away from what you could have.
Very true.
Totally.
That was really good.
Wow.
That was good.
That was good. That was good. That was good.
This was awesome.
Yeah, I just want to say,
this was awesome.
On record, thank you
Yeah.
for coming into our life and being a mentor to me for this podcast, because there's no universe where I literally would have done this if you didn't just like put me on your back and be like, no, I got you. Here's what you need to do. This is like, I listen to podcasts now like every single day.
Yeah.
I'm obsessed
She's
with
obsessed.
them. The vision is so big, and just not giving up on us. And I just want to make you very proud, and I don't want to, waste your time, and I don't want to waste your creativity and your knowledge. So every time that I do something in regards of the creative space, I'm like, what would Roger think? What would Roger think? Like, would this
Wow.
be something that he would, and he sees me, I'm frantic. I'm like, this needs to be exactly perfect. And so I just want to have this as a part in history. That I just thank you so much, because you don't have to, be here for us,
I want to be a part of the story.
Yeah, and
Selfishly.
I just
Seriously, like, again, like leaning into the things that I know for myself. I've realized selfishly, I love to serve people.
Yeah.
And I literally told you guys, like, I'm not doing it for the money. Really,
Right.
like, I'm not. Like,
Right. No, I know.
I literally want to do it because I want to be a part of your story.
Yeah,
I want to be, like, I want you guys to be on stage and, like, these bars and then, big out spaces they saw, and just that one moment in time. I don't need it, but just that one time to know. And you say, hey, Raj, remember the time we were in the basement?
it's fucking gonna be crazy.
Underground. We call it underground.
the
Yeah,
underground.
John calls it the underground.
So it's like that I just want that moment.
Yeah.
For myself, selfishly. There's just certain, when you say I look forward to certain things.
Yeah.
That's one of them. That's just
Wow.
that one moment, and then I'm good. And then you guys, then you guys have a road manager, and then I don't talk to you, and then you have a tour
No,
manager.
no, no,
Nah.
no,
And then,
no. No.
And then VIP, you got set me
No.
up with VIP passes.
There you go. There
That's
you go.
hilarious.
In the front.
And I want to thank you for being a great friend. Truly.
Honestly. Very, very truly. We're all gonna get emotional and cry here now. That tequila shot didn't serve us so well, did
It was
it?
like a little workout.
It was. I know. It feels good now.
know.
Got some energy.
I need
We
to.
have a gift for you.
Oh, nice. Did we open it on the pod? Is that what we do?
gift. Yes. Please.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Parting gift.
Okay.
Drum roll.
The onyx and the hematite.
Yeah, I see you wear.
And
silver
hematite
and
is
so forth.
for empaths.
What does that mean?
So people who can read and relate to other people's emotions.
Really?
Hematite is really good for
I would say that's
holding on to your emotions as
I would
well.
say it's definitely. Well, first of all, thank you.
Yeah, that looks great.
You know me. I'm never probably take this off now.
Probably not.
Your other there's that one bracelet. I'm so sad. You guys don't sell it anymore. It was the one with the nail that went through the top. And remember, it would always
Oh,
come
I
off.
love
Yes,
that
yes,
I was
bracelet.
obsessed with it, but my problem is because I move around
Too much. Yeah,
it would always
it's-
fall off.
And you're carrying
Yeah.
equipment.
Just
go.
quick questions
Go,
we
go.
ask every single guest on the show. If you could have dinner with one person in history, dead or alive, who would it be? And the second question is, if you could have one person's phone contact list, dead or alive, all parts of history to the present, who would it be?
My grandfather.
Oh, well, I wasn't expecting that.
Wow, that was-
I've
I
never-
was not expecting that.
I love that man. Yeah.
Okay,
you're gonna need to reapply your makeup.
I am, and I can't.
Yeah.
Who's
So congratulations for making us all cry today.
I mean, honestly,
Yeah,
this.
I was my grandfather.
Okay.
Yeah.
A phone contact list. Please just pick. You could just.
So the contact of who would I call?
Whose phone contact list would you want to have access to?
Dan's.
Yeah,
I knew you were gonna say that. I knew you were gonna say that.
That was a layup.
I know.
That was a
I
layup.
just didn't know.
All day.
Yeah.
Like literally. I'm
I
talking
know.
About, you
Yeah.
talking about crazy?
Yeah.
Oh
Okay.
my
I
God.
knew.
He could pick up the
Like-
phone, call Magic Johnson. Magic
Right
Johnson's
now.
picking up.
And he's answering. Yeah.
See, well,
Wow.
talking about, like one of the biggest flexes, and he does, the thing I love about him, and for me, it's an attribute I know I'm harnessing and kind of want more of him. Is just not the word just being humble. It's like that's who he is, his personality, like innately. Like he serves, he shows up, he doesn't want to and like for me, I love that. And again, I've learned the loudest person in the room is usually the most insecure, and the only time I'm loud is when I'm dancing. But for me is when he was having a meeting once, one of his newest corporations, Aspire, and he says to them, hey, who's one of your dream people? They go, Kevin Hart. He's texting him. Kevin Hart FaceTimes him on the spot.
That is wild. I need that phone contact
December
list too.
5th and 6th. You guys have tickets? Atlanta.
What?
Aspire. We have Kevin Hart speaking.
No way.
And Rick Ross. Yeah, so
And Rick Ross. Oh my God.
I have
She
to
loves
go.
Rick
I
Ross.
love Rick
December
Ross
5th
so
and 6th.
much.
You guys have tickets?
Rick Ross is speaking.
He's performing.
I don't know. I'll find out.
I
through
need-
Dan. If last time Dan was with him, he interviewed him.
Oh my goodness.
Most likely he'll be interviewing and performing. Atlanta.
She loves Rick Ross.
Yeah. So it would be
If
so
I have a possibility to possibly meet Rick Ross,
We
that'd be
saw him in
amazing.
concert at the Grammys.
We made eye contact. I made eye contact with Rick Ross.
You know what? Talking about you again, we were talking about people we've worked with that I admire. He's one of them.
I
Rick
love
Ross.
him.
Rick Ross.
That guy shows up every day.
Damn.
Every day. For every brand. And he literally, when I met, this is actually when I first met him. We're back and he's about to speak. Dan's about to interview him. We're in the Versace mansion. I'm in the back room with him. And I say, I'm born and raised Miami. You know, I look very white. I love rap. Love Rick Ross. Love Lil Wayne.
Same.
They're gods.
Lil Wayne. Yeah.
Yes,
You know,
yes,
for me, they're
yeah,
gods.
yeah.
So I'm in the room and I'm like, I need a photo. I never do it, but I was like, it's Rick Ross.
Yeah.
So I go, Ricky Rose, you know?
That's what I call him.
I go, he has the champagne.
Yeah.
And I go, yo, can I get a photo with the big boss? He goes, yeah. And so he stands up
Need it.
and I grab the bottles to be like flexing. And he goes, you can't up me. And then he grabs bottles in the fall. I'll send it to you. And,
That's
it's literally us, and we're
amazing.
going like this, flexing, and we have 2 bottles up going like
I
that. and we had that
literally,
moment.
I love it.
And in that moment, I realized 2 things. Number one, he's so proud about what he has going in his brands.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter who it is, he'll always be talking about it. And the second part of that conversation, I told him, I said, hey, is there any way I could serve you with content? He's like, what you do? How can we make money together? He's like, how can we make money together? He's like, I got these brands. He's always thinking of the more.
Yeah.
And he's a very positive person. I don't know if you ever
And
catch
his
motivational
personality,
stuff.
he's like
No, I
goofy and
didn't
funny.
know
He's
that.
great. Yeah.
Very motivational. I also
didn't
knew a
know
couple,
that.
yeah. And it's like he took over. He has one of the largest estates in Atlanta. It's 100+ acres. Yeah, he's a serious, and he just bought a jet for his mom, and it's kind of but he's someone I really admire and love. Yeah.
Oh.
But yeah, so December 5th and 6th.
Okay.
Kevin
I'm going
Hart,
to keep that in my mind.
Rick Ross, Aspire Atlanta. You guys
Wow.
have tickets?
Well, thank you for being on
Yeah.
our
you for having
show
me.
and starting the show pretty much for us in general. And everything that you guys see on TikTok is because of Roger. Tell them your handles.
So just Instagram, pretty simple, ContentCEO. But yeah, I gotta head out to this
Yeah.
opening of the restaurant.
All right.
Medusa. Yeah, I already told them once I get there, I'm gonna introduce you to the manager so you guys can check. It opens today.